show you how to set up a development environment for those of you that haven't done it. Now you need to be aware that you already have on these computers everything set up, all right? So I want to show you where to go and get things and what order to install them in. I'm going to record everything we do today, so it'll be on YouTube. You just can go to my YouTube channel and select the playlist for Computer Science 101 and watch it over if you need to, all right? So the first thing, I want to go ahead and share my screen out. You want to take really good notes, without a doubt. So, let me see here. Since everything is already installed in here, I'm going to use a program called VMware, which is a virtualization piece of software. And I'm going to install it inside of one of those so you can kind of see the actual process happen, all right? So I have one here. I'll go ahead and I'll start it up. And we are going to use Java as our primary learning language. And then we need this other thing called an IDE. An IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. So you know how Word helps you write better? Grammarly actually really helps you write better. But Word helps you write better and organize your thoughts. An IDE, an Integrated Development Environment such as Eclipse, does the same thing for us as programmers. So I'm going to come in here and hopefully remember the password for this. So we're going to download both of those, Java and Eclipse IDE. So we'll bring up a browser, and whenever you download anything from the internet, I can't stress the importance of downloading it from the people that create it. Don't go out and download it from anywhere else. So we want this thing called the JDK. The JDK is the Java Developer Kit. You may have the JRE already installed. So Java Developer Kit, JRE is the Java Runtime Environment. That's what enables us to be able to write one chunk of code and run it anywhere. I have to pick the one that I don't have connected to the internet. Give me just a second. All right, so if we type in JDK, one of the first hits is going to be the Java SE. That's Standard Edition. There's another one out there called EE for Enterprise Edition. And we want to download that JDK, and it's going to be from Oracle. Oracle is the maintainer for Java, all right? And the latest version of Java, the Standard Edition for the JDK, is 9.04, and that's perfectly fine. So we would download that. It's going to give us a variety of things. Which ones do we want to download? Most of you that are running Mac OS, meaning you have an Apple, it should already be installed, but you might need to install it again. We're going to get the Windows x64 one. And it'll take only a few seconds there to download. While that is downloading, I'm going to go to eclipse.org. And again, right now all you're doing is taking notes, asking questions, and watching. You don't have to be doing, unless you have a laptop and you want to do it at the same time, that's fine. So Eclipse, whatever version you download, may be slightly different than what we're using in here. The version that we are using was released probably back in June of 17. So at this point in time, they've probably released a new one, so it might look slightly different, but functionally, it'll be fine. It'll be identical. So it's going to be Oxygen is the one we're going to get, so we're going to go ahead and download that. It's going to say, some are going to pop up and say, you sure you want to keep this? Remember, you're a developer at this point. You know that you need that. That's what you want. But a regular user, they're trying to warn them that, gee, maybe you don't know what you're doing with this and you might get yourself in trouble. So we are going to go ahead and keep that. And it's going to ask, where do I want to download this from? That seems like an awful far off place, but we'll go ahead and go with it and see if it downloads pretty quick. Yeah, I'll take that. So now we do have to install these in an order. Eclipse, when it installs, it looks to see that Java has been installed. So we're going to install Java first. Always save. Make sure you save and then run. Don't run as it downloads because you don't know what's going to happen. We'll say yes. That shouldn't take too long to install on these machines. A little bit of a side note, those of you that are like, but it runs so much faster on these machines. One of the reasons it runs faster on these machines is they have 32 gigs of RAM in them, and it also has a solid-state drive in them. The solid-state drive is where my virtual machines are running, and that's why it runs so fast. If I were doing this in my host, the normal, what you see my typical desktop, it'd run a lot slower because that's running off the mechanical drive. We'll learn about that later on in the class, and everybody will want to run out and get their own solid-state drive. But that's one of the reasons it runs so fast. I don't care about that. While this is installing, maybe I'll explain, or I'll ask you, does anybody know what the difference between x64 is and x86? Something we need to understand and know about as developers. No takers? Jordan? Not processor speed, but it definitely has to do with the processor and then the operating system that's on top of it. It has to do with the number of bits that can be passed around with every clock cycle. With an x64, the 64 means it's a 64-bit architecture. And that's what almost all modern devices are running on, is the 64-bit architecture. However, the majority of them still have the ability to run 32-bit programs. So when you see x86, which you see a lot in Windows, there's two program folders. One says programs, program files, whatever it is, and the other one says program files, and in parentheses, x86. So the idea is whatever's in that x86 folder is all 32-bit programs, and the one in the other one is 64-bit. So this is a 32-bit program or architecture. The reason it says x86 is that is the architecture, our CPU architecture. We consider it an x86 architecture, which comes from years ago. Way back when Intel first started making these, there was an 8088, and then there was an 8086. And then there was a 286, and a 386, and a 486. And then they realized there was several copycats. And Intel realized that you can't trademark a number. So they switched to Pentium and Celeron. And now it's Core. And there was Core Duo. And now it's Core i3, Core i5, Core i7, Core i9. So it all comes back to that's the actual architecture that's underneath of it. All right, so once that's installed, you can go ahead and install Eclipse, and Eclipse is much easier to install now than it used to be. Those of you that maybe did this in the past, you had to do several weird things with it. You don't have to do that anymore. You just have to remember where it's installed. It said it was opening, but it didn't. Oh, there we go. Cancel one of those guys off. If by chance you get everything installed and it gives you some kind of a weird error, do the Magic Rescue reboot. See if that fixes the issues that you have. When you get to the installer, it's going to ask you, what do you want to install? Well, I told you that we're going to use Java, so you want to install Eclipse IDE for Java developers. But while you're in here, take just a minute and look through some of the other tools that are available to you in here. All right? It's a bunch of different ones. This is a professional tool, meaning that in industry, they use it on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, anybody that has ever coded in NetBeans, which some of you will, NetBeans is based on Eclipse. Eclipse is the framework for NetBeans. There's a lot of other IDEs out there that Eclipse is the underlying framework for it, and that's because Eclipse is open source. Anybody want to tell me what open source is? Mike, I want to give it a shot. What's open source mean? Sounds right. What do you think, Spencer?
All the software is available and free, and you have the rights to change the code and stuff in it.
As long as you what?
Give them credit for,
Got to give them credit. You got to still share it with everybody.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to actually change it and start charging for what you changed. Now, where do they make their money? Everybody's like, well, if they're giving it away for free, how do they make their money? They make their money in service, right? They charge subscriptions for help so that you can pick up the phone and call for help whenever you need. And Red Hat actually is one of the best at that. So it's going to go ahead and install this, and whenever it's done, there'll be a little purple button that'll show up on the desktop for you. If you're running a Mac, I should bring my Mac in and show that, but if you're running a Mac, it may not show up on your desktop, it'll show up in your applications, and you can just launch it from there. You can do all your development, all your stuff, you can make it all the way through our program with ease on a Mac without any problems. So if you're back and forth about, well, I need a new one if I want to pursue this this major, because I have some people that get into it and they're like, well, I want a really nice machine. I think I might want a Mac or a Windows. It's your preference. I run them both, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You can get through the program without any problem. So whenever it's done, there's that Eclipse Java right there on my desktop, and away we would go. So what I'm going to do at this point is I want to drop back to my host so that things look familiar to you, so that we're kind of in sync with everything. So at this point, I am going to want you to start doing things with me. So at home over the weekend, I want to tell you right now, one of the things you're going to have to do by Sunday night is reproduce everything we've done. You're going to need to download Java, download Eclipse, install it, and do a Hello World program. If you've already done that, you don't have to uninstall everything and reinstall it. You can just do the program, okay? How you're going to provide proof to me is you're going to create a Word document. You can take screen captures of everything. You're going to put it in there as proof that you've completed this. How do you take screen captures? How? Your laptop certainly does do that. I promise you. So on your or on your keyboard, everybody look at your keyboard. Do you see the button that says print screen? What? Yeah. Now, yours may not be as transparent. You might have to hit on a laptop the FN key and then print screen. There's also on a Windows machine a program called Snipping Tool, right? And on Macs, it's called, who are my Mac users? Do I have any Mac users in here? It's called Grabber, okay? There are a variety of shortcuts as well. For example, on a Mac, just because I can remember, it's Command-Shift, the number 3 or the number 4. It gives you two different options. One is a full screen, and the other is you can select what you want. All right? And you can look up those shortcuts on your own here. All right, so at this point, we're going to assume everybody is set up and ready to go. So we are going to start Eclipse by double-clicking on it. And it's going to ask you, whenever it launches, it's going to ask you where your workspace is. So your workspace contains your projects. And your projects are your files for your program. All right? So think of a project as your program, because that's what it is. So your workspace contains your projects, and you're going to have multiple projects in here. And then inside of that project are for the files for that particular program. So where do we want our workspace to be? We want to create our workspace somewhere that we know we can get to. I'm going to make it on my desktop. All right? It's just a good place to keep it for now, so you don't have to worry about, oh my God, where is it at? All right? So I'm going to click on Browse when it asks me. I want to go to Desktop. I want to make a new folder, and you all are my section 101, 1001, sorry. So I want to put S001. And I want to select S001. It's not what I wanted. Come on. So S001 is what I want to call you all, and you should do the same. I'll come around and help you out, make sure that you're good to go. You're not logged in? Oh, you're doing it on your own computer? You're not logged in. You're not doing it with me. You got to do it with me. You got to do it with me. You're doing with me now. You doing with me? That's mine. You got to do it with me. You got to do it with me. Double click on Eclipse. All right? You're doing all this with, this is your first program. You're going to do all this with me. If you don't know how to do it, it's going to be a problem. Go ahead and log in. Adrian, you good to go, man? You got to do it with me. Do what I do. No, you're going to start Eclipse. You're going to click on the purple icon that says Eclipse. Now, I said that, but you were busy reading a website. Yeah. You were busy reading a website. Do I need to tell you what the website name was? Give me a second. I can do that. Internet history. Let me see. Where were you at? Oh, there you are. What website is that? Oh, you got it up on the main one there. Got all kinds of stuff on there on your browser. Just looked like a regular website. All right, everybody good? Everybody getting caught up? Neighbors help neighbors. I'm going to start over, and I'm going to go real slow. You're going to double click on Eclipse. It's going to ask you where you want your workspace to be. Click on Browse. Let's put it on our desktop, right? Because we know where our desktop is. It's right there. It's right in our face. and you're going to say make new folder, and you're going to make sure that you name that folder. You might have to right click on that new folder and rename it. You're going to name it like Java Programs, or UR001, that's your section number. You can put that. Whatever you want to name it that you're going to remember, you're in control. I named mine 001 S001 because you are my Spring 001 section. All right. After you've done that, I want to click on Launch. Make sure you're taking really good notes too. Writing this stuff down. All right. Once you've done all of that, you're going to launch into the IDE. This is the full-blown IDE. You can close that welcome note. And I want to take a minute and give you a few seconds to explore this IDE, to explore what all is here. Take a moment and go through each one of the menus at the top and just read what it does. Just read what the different options are. Get familiar with the program. It's not nearly as overwhelming as what you think it is. Do you guys use NetBeans, Jordan, or?
Yeah, NetBeans. I've used it.
Okay. You can click on that. You can close off that tab, and then just kind of scan through your menu items and see what those menu items are. Yep, you're good. You can continue through that, but eventually just go ahead and close that tab off and just kind of look through the menu items. That's all I want you to do. I want you to take a minute and look at them. Close that off. Close that tab off. You know how to close a tab. Yeah, there you go. Now look through these items across the top. Just take your time going through them. All right. I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to walk through some of this with you. I want to walk through the most important things. You need to remember, this is what the professionals use. Your favorite game, it might have been developed with Eclipse. The program you're looking at right now for Facebook, for Windows is probably done in Visual Studio, but all these programs are out there. This is the IDE. This was the helping tool to help you program. Because remember, understand the problem, create a solution, test, and now we're going to translate. So this is the tool that's going to help us translate. It's going to help us do different things. So a little bit about the layout. I know you can't fully see everything, so I'll try to. I know some of you can't see my cursor, so I'll try to do something here. Over on the left is our Package Explorer. All right? This is where inside of our workspace the different projects are going to start showing up. All right? And then inside of that project, we'll be able to open that out. We'll be able to expand it out and be able to see the different files and other folders that are inside of there. In the center, let's see if I can make it do something. In the center here, this is where our code is going to show up. This is the default layout for our IDE. Once you get familiar with everything, you can change it and customize it all you want. As programmers, that's what we're all about. We like to customize things. If we're going to be sitting at a desk for several hours a day coding, we like to have things our way. You do too. So it's very customizable, but in the beginning, this is the default layout. When your programs get really, really big, the outline over here helps you to be able to jump between modules, between objects, between classes, between methods, between functions. All right? Quickly. Because right now, our program is going to be really small, 10, 15 lines of code. It doesn't take long for them to get really, really big with multiple files, multiple classes, and multiple methods inside of that. All right? Then the other things we need to know about, this is going to be the run button. And there's a run up here. And if you lose something, you need to come to Window, Show View. And one of the things you're going to lose sometimes is the console. Or maybe you're going to lose your Package Explorer. You accidentally close it off. Window, Show View will help you get that back. All right? If you accidentally close off your code view, you got to get it back, and that's how you get it back. For the record, when you have earbuds in a classroom or in a meeting, it's considered rude. I know. But remember, I'm here to help you understand what you're entering into in a few short years, too. All right. So, for example, let's say that I lost my Package Explorer over here. I go to Window, Show View, Package Explorer, and there's my Package Explorer back. And you can try that out if you want. So, I'll let you try it if you want to try it. You close something off. Say Package Explorer, Windows, Show View, Package Explorer. Everybody good with that? All right. Now, I have a question. In Word, let's say you have Word already opened, or Excel, or PowerPoint, or any other program where you can create something. How do you create a new document? How do you do it? Adrian? File and click what? There you go. So guess what we do in this? Same thing. So we're going to go File, New. Now don't get too quick on me here because we got a lot of different new options, right? We're going to do File, New, Java Project. Now the first project you create in any new language that you're getting used to is called Hello World. All right? It's the first thing that we do. So all our program is going to do, it's not going to have any inputs. So we're not going to have any user interaction. And it's going to output or print Hello World. After we've done that, maybe we'll make a little bit of a more interactive one. All right? Let's just do this real quick. It's good practice. So we're going to call this Hello World. Get in the habit of not using spaces. If you need a space, use the underscore. But get in the habit of never using spaces. It's just a good habit to have. After you've done that, you can click on Finish. And over on the left-hand side, you're going to see your new project. Now, our new project doesn't actually contain any files to run yet. We have to give it a main method. So let me explain this. Every program that you run has an entry point into it. And that is always through the main method. All right? Every program, when you tap on it or you double-click on it, you go through the main entry. All right? So we're going to create that now. And the way we do it is we need to add a class. Now, how do I add a new class? You go to File. There you go. File, New, and we're going to do Class. Another way to do it is you could right-click on the project, New Class. I want to call this My Hello. After I've typed in My Hello, you want to make sure that you check public static void main. Okay? Public static void main. So a little bit of notes here. A class contains methods of similar function. So This is called a divide and conquer approach. As we look at a large program or a large problem, we don't do it all at once. We break it into small modules. A class contains methods which are going to have similar function. And then a method contains blocks of executable code. All right? So class has a bunch of functions in it that are related to one another. And then the methods contain chunks of executable code. We need that main method. Notice it even calls it a method. Public static void main. Click on Finish. And in the center, your code is going to show up. So those are called a stub. It just makes the parameters available, so on and so forth. What's it not giving you? That's because you didn't name it. You're going to name it. I named mine My, M-Y, uppercase, H-E-L-L-O. You should be able to do it. That good? No? What's wrong? Did you get it? Okay. Okay, now a little word about these curly brackets and a word about Java. And I know I'm going really, really slow, those of you that have programmed before, but don't you wish somebody took the time to explain some of the things I'm explaining? Curly brackets set off a block of something that belongs together. All right? That's their sole purpose always, in almost every programming language. And when we open something in Java, so for example, if I open a curly bracket, I have to have a matching closing curly bracket. Another thing about Java is it's case sensitive. So this is called balance. If I open something, I have to close it. Always. If I open quotes, I got to close quotes. Another thing about Java is it's case sensitive. Now, oddly enough, all operating systems are case sensitive except for the most popular one, Windows. And I wish it was, because it would make you understand something being case sensitive better. In Java's world, when you say variable with a capital V, that is different than variable b with a lowercase b. Those are two different storage locations that it sets up. And it's that way for everything. One letter being capitalized is different to Java. So back to this balancing act. Public class, a class contains methods. There's my method. There's a curly bracket to start. Here are all of my classes, my methods that belong to my class. And if you notice, my IDE highlights the last curly bracket for me. It says, hey, this curly bracket way down here belongs to this one way up here. And I want you to comment, so you don't accidentally lose those, that that's the ending class curly bracket. So we're going to say // that's a comment, end class my hello. Don't worry, we're getting there. I promise you will have your first program written before we leave today. but this stuff is important. Can you tell me which curly bracket goes with my method? Remember, the curly brackets, they're chunks of code, chunks of things that go together. So here's my method, my main method. Here's my starting curly bracket. Notice how my IDE highlights my ending one. So I want to comment that one that is end main method. Now, when you're a professional, you don't have to do this. But from now until you leave college, and even when you're in the workplace, you should comment those because it will save you grief, right? If you accidentally delete one, you'll immediately know, hey, where did my curly bracket go for my method or for my class? And you'll know what you lost, all right? So right now, for the foreseeable future, you should do that. And eventually, when you're real familiar with the IDE, it's really easy to see what's unbalanced. But you're just not there right now. So make sure you do that for the foreseeable future. Now back to the definitions. Classes contain methods. So if I had another method in here, it would go inside of these outer curly brackets. So other methods would go here, one after the other, inside of the curly brackets for my overall class. And then the definition of a method is it contains blocks of executable code. All right? It performs one thing. Really, that's how we do it. That's how we make it look so cool. And that's how we make it so readable, is we make everything modular. So inside of my main method, because that's where executable code goes, I need to put a statement, a print statement that says hello world. We are finally set up, ready to translate. Now think about that. If you go straight to code, you got to worry about all this crap while you're thinking about the problem. And that's why I want you to always pseudocode. You don't want to have to think about the problem as you translate. You just want to focus on, how do I translate this? How do I get it? What line of code do I need to use to get it to do something? What line of code do I need to use to get a print to the console, to the real world, that says hello world? You ready? Here's the translation. System with a capital S. Period. Out. Period. P-R-I-N-T-L-N. That's an L, not a 1. System.out.println. Parenthesis quote. Hello world. Don't worry about the little red things that show up here until you're done. Now, every single command ends with a semicolon. Now, it's going to get a little confusing because I'm telling you every single command ends with a semicolon. Not every single line ends with a semicolon, right? Because when we get to if statements and we get to while loops, you're not going to put a semicolon at the end of some of those lines. That's because it doesn't terminate there. It terminates somewhere else, and I'll explain that logic to you. All right? So at this point in time, we're ready to go to see our first program run. Those of you that have done this before, just think of how exciting it was the first time you got a program to run. You ready? So you're going to come up to the top. You can click on Run if you want. And you're going to come down to Run As Java Application. It's going to say, do you want to save this? You say, okay, yeah, I want to do that. And there you go. Down at the bottom in the console, it's going to say hello world. Now I know that's not any competition to your big fancy PlayStation 4s and Xboxes. But I want you to think about it. You just told a computer to do something. For the first time, you are in complete control of what that computer does. And after just one additional class, you can be making it do games, write viruses, defend against viruses, all kinds of stuff. What's up? Okay, well, you better do it, right? You type it in. Yep. All right, so this is what I want you to do. We know how to do a system, a print out. Do a couple more outputs. Do not copy and paste. Retype it. That tell a story to the user. All right? Today I'm going to whatever. This weekend I'm going to whatever. Practice that a little bit. Put several system outs in there. Where do they go? Well, according to our definition, class contains methods. Methods contain blocks of code, so that block of code has got to go in the only method that I have, which is the main method. What happened? How are you getting confused? Right there's my code. See my code right there? You're too worried about this. Stop worrying about that. Keep typing it out. Yeah, you're good. What's that? No, leave that in there if you want. How's it going? Run it. Okay. Okay, yeah. Run often. Write a little, run. Write a little, run. What's up? You're going to keep doing. Keep writing more of those. Okay, you see how big your cursor is? You turned off insert. So on your keyboard, find the insert key and hit it. Now you can actually insert stuff. How you doing? Good? You got an error here somewhere. Oh, no, there.